Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachanam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamam vande Shri Guru dinataranam parvananda madhvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashate Desharine. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So here we were in chapter 3 of MadhyaLila, and we were talking about Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu's stay at Advaita's house this chapter. And we were in the last section of this chapter where we were discussing about Lord Caitanya departs for Purī. So here in the MadhyaLila we see that Krishnadas Kaviraj mentions that his journey to Jagannāth Puri is described in great detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his book Chaitanya Bhagavad. So from the last session onward, we have started those portions from Chaitanya Bhagavad, which is actually describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travel. So let's continue our journey towards Neelachal Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through sound vibration. Ananta Pandita Ati Parama Udara Paya Paramananda Paya Nayara. Ananta Pandit was greatly magnanimous. He became so blissful that he had no external consciousness. Vaikunthera Pati Asi Atithi Haila Santoshe Bhikshara Sajja Karite Lagila. The Lord of Vaikuntha became his guest. He therefore happily began to arrange the Lord's lunch. The Lord and his associates took their meal at his house. The Lord thus arranged to show how one should feed a sannyasi. So now here we ended the last portion where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had just reached this place. So now it is the description of how this Brahman became so very happy to have the Supreme Lord as his guest, and how he starts preparing to welcome the Supreme Lord by arranging a very nice lunch prasadam.
So here it's meant Vaikuntera Pati Asi Atithi Haila. So this word Atithi means that this is not a planned visit, Atithi.
One who comes without tithi.
Without tithi or without advance notice. So he is considered as a guest. And of course here the Supreme Lord himself is visiting as a guest. So that's why this devotee is greatly fortunate. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur highlights in this regard. He quotes this particular phrase we would have heard often, Atithi Devo Bhava. That a guest is as good as a deity or as a devata or as good as a god. So the idea is not that the Atithi becomes God, but then Atithi should be offered that respect and service as that of a great personality. So Atithi Devo Bhava. So this actually phrase is from Taittiriya Upanishad. And then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes here from Garud Puran, which is very interesting, that how do we define an Atithi? So he quotes this verse from Garud Puran. He says, Godoha matra kalam vai pratikshedh Atithi swayam abhaya gatan yatha shakti pujayet atithim tatha. So a guest usually remains at the house of a person for as long as it takes to milk a cow. So Atithi means that he comes and stays for a very short time, as long as it takes to milk a cow. So if a person comes just for that time and he leaves, so then he comes in the category of Atithi. And then it's mentioned that Yatha Shakti Pujayet Atithim Tatha. So one should serve this person, this guest, according to one's ability. Yatha Shakti. Whatever is best that I can offer or do for that Atithi, I should do that.
Sarvaratri Krishna Katha Kirtana Prasange Achilena Ananta Pandita Grihe Range. Sarvaratri Krishna Katha Kirtan Prasange. So this is how they spend the entire night. What they were doing? Krishna Katha Kirtan Prasang. So the Lord happily passed the entire night discussing topics of Krishna in the house of Ananta Pandit. In the morning, the Lord glanced mercifully on Ananta Pandit and chanted the name of Hari as he departed. Mat Prabhu Jahana Veer Kole Kole Ailena Chatra Bhoga Mahakutuhale.
In this way, the Lord walked along the bank of the Ganges till he happily arrived at Chhatrabhog.
Se Chhatrabhoge Ganga Harishatamukhi Vahite Achena Sarva Janekari Sukhi Jalamaya Shivalanga Ache Se Isane Ambulinga Ghata Kari Bale Sarva Jane. So here is a description of Ambulinga Ghat on the bank of Ganga. So it's mentioned that this place, Chhatrabhog, where the Lord has arrived while traveling from Bengal to Odisha. So in Chhatrabhog, the Ganges flow in 100 streams. Shatamukhi, 100 streams flow for there, thereby making everyone happy. At this place, there is a spot known to everyone as Ambulinga Ghat, where there is a Shivling made of water.
So there is a description which is given of this temple there, where it's mentioned that there is that base stone which is called Gauripat, and which holds the Shivalinga. So that base was there, and in the middle of that there was a hole and there was water in that hole, and within that water there was this Shivalinga. So it was very, very small Shivalinga, and on the forehead of that Shivalinga was a silver half moon, and above that linga were the deities of Lakshmi, Narayan. So this is the description given of this temple there.
Purve Bhagiratha Kari Ganga Aradhana Ganga Anilena Vamsha Udhara Karana Gangara virahe Shiva vivalahaiya. Shiva ailena sheshe Ganga sanariya. Previously, Bhagirath worshipped the Ganges and brought her to this world to deliver his forefathers. Shiva became overwhelmed in separation from the Ganges. While remembering the Ganges, he eventually came to this place. So there is this very beautiful pastime which comes in Ramayana, where there is the description of how Bhagirathi actually performs lot of austerities and finally request Mother Ganga to come down to the earthly planets from heavenly planets, and Mother Ganga comes and Shiva holds, because Ganga would be flowing with great force. Yeah, so if she would directly fall on earth, then everything would vanish. That is the flow of Mother Ganga. So Shiva agrees to hold her in his jatai, kya bolte hain? In his hair, jatai. Yeah. So this is the description. So here it is mentioned that Shiva became overwhelmed in separation from the Ganges, and while remembering Ganga, he actually comes here. So that Shivalinga is actually Lord Shiva who has come here because he wanted to be with Ganga. Ganga re dekhiya Shiva se chatra bhoge vihvala ila ati Ganga anurage.
When Shiva saw the Ganges at Chhatrabhog, he became overwhelmed with attachment for the Ganga.
Ganga dekhi matra Shiva Gangaya padila. Jala rupe Shiva jahan pite me shaila. As soon as he saw the Ganges, he entered the water. He then took the form of water and merged in the Ganges. Jagannāth jahanavi o dekhiya Shankar. Puja kari lena bhakti kariya vistara.
When Jahanavi, the mother of the universe, or Ganga, Mother Ganga, saw Shiva, she worshipped him with great devotion. Shiva knew the glories of worshipping the Ganga, and the Ganga also knew the glories of worshipping Shiva. So here we see that such a beautiful reciprocation between Mother Ganga and Lord Shiva, and each one of them knew the glories of the other personality, and that's why they had such a wonderful association that Lord Shiva took the form of water here and merged with Mother Ganga.
Ganga jala sparshe Shiva hoila jala maya. Ganga o pujila ati kariya vinaya. When Shiva came in touch with the water of the Ganges, he transformed into water, and Ganga also humbly worshipped him. So this week we celebrated Shivaratri, and it is so fortunate that we are discussing this particular portion from Chaitanya Bhagavat, where there is this wonderful description of how Lord Shiva actually touched water and he transformed into water. So that water linga. So that is very, very unique place at Ambulinga where this description is mentioned. This pastime is given. Yes.
Jala
Rupe Shiva rahi lena se sthane. Ambulinga ghat kari ghosha sarva jane.
Shiva remained at that place in the form of water, so everyone glorified this place as Ambulinga Ghat. By the influence of the Ganges and Lord Shiva, this village of Chhatrabhog became most glorious and celebrated as a great Tirtha. So here we had the Ganga, who's non-different from the foot water of the Lord, and we have the greatest Vaishnava, Lord Shiva, residing here in Chhatrabhog. So it has become, of course, most glorious and a great place of pilgrimage and purification.
Tathi madhya visheshama himahaila ara. Paiya Chaitanya Charitamrta vihara. This place became even more glorious after Sri Chaitanya Chandra visited and enjoyed pastimes here. So it's already a glorious place. So there is Ganga, there is topmost Vaishnava Lord Shiva, and there is a Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Chandra. What else do we need? छत्र भोगे गेला प्रभु अंबुलिंग घाटे शतमुखी गंगा प्रभु देखिला निकटे.
The Lord went to Ambulinga Ghat at Chhatrabhog and saw the Ganges flowing in 100 streams there. On seeing the Ganges there, the Lord became overwhelmed with ecstasy and roared loudly while chanting the name of Hari, Hari, Hari.
आषाढ़ खाए ना नित्यानंद कोले करी सर्वगण जया दिया बोले हरि हरि. As the Lord forcefully fell to the ground, Nityanand caught hold of him and all the devotees chanted Jai Hari Hari Hari. In great ecstasy, the Lord happily took bath at that ghat with his associates. अनेका कौतुके प्रभु करिले न स्नाने वेद व्यास ताहा सब लिखिबे पुराणे.
While taking bath, the Lord enacted many pastimes that will be described in the Puranas by Vedavyas. So this is for future generations. So when Vedavyas, like we see Srimad Bhagavatam and the Puranas where Vedavyas has compiled so many pastimes of Lord, especially if you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Lord Krishna, pastimes of Lord Narsimha, pastimes of Lord Ram, pastimes of Varahadev, and so many other incarnations have been compiled by Vedavyas. So here Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that in future, the future Puranas compiled by Vedavyas, these pastimes would be enumerated.
स्नान करि महाप्रभु उठिले न कूले ये वस्त्र परे से पीते प्रेम जले. After completing his bath, Mahaprabhu came out of the water, but as soon as he put on dry clothes, they became soaked with his tears of love. अपूर्व देखिया सबे हासे भक्त गणा हे न महाप्रभु गौर चंद्रेरा क्रंदना. The devotees laughed when they saw this wonderful pastime. Such was the crying of Gaurachandra Mahaprabhu. से ग्रामे अधिकारी रामचंद्र खाना यद्यपि विषयी तबो महाभाग्यवाना.
The administrator of that village was Ramchandra Khan. Although he was a sense enjoyer, Yadyapi Vishayi, he was a great sense enjoyer. Tabu Mahabhagyavan, he was greatly fortunate. Let's see how.
देखिया प्रभुर तेजा बया हैला माने दोला हैते सत्वरे नामेला से क्षणे. When he saw the Lord's effulgence, he became filled with awe and immediately got down from his palanquin. He fell flat at the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord had no external consciousness as he shed tears of ecstatic love. So the Lord was not really aware in the sense he was not very conscious or cognizant of who's coming. And like here, there was this person who's getting down from his palanquin and paying obeisances, but then the Lord was actually, he was in such an ecstasy, he was experiencing so much of ecstasy that he had no connection with the external world. Ah Jagannāth Prabhu bole gane gana prithvi te padi gana karaye krandana.
So this was describes the situation of Lord Chaitanya. The Lord fell to the ground and cried profusely while repeatedly exclaiming, "O Jagannāth, ha ha Jagannāth, O Jagannāth."
किछु स्थिर है वैकुंठेर चूड़मणि जिज्ञासील रामचंद्र खाने रखे तुमी. After becoming somewhat pacified, the crest jewel of Vaikuntha asked Ramchandra Khan, "Who are you?" संभ्रमे करिया दंडवत कर योड़ा बले प्रभु दास आनु दास मुनि तोरा.
Folding his hands with awe and reverence, Ramachandra replied, "O Lord, I am the servant of your servant."
विशेष सर्वलोके लागिला कहिते हे अधिकारी प्रभु दक्षिणा राज्यते. Then other persons there informed the Lord, he is the administrator of this southern province. The Lord said, it is good that you are the administrator. Tell me how I can quickly reach Nilachal. So now here we see that this person, Ramchandra Khan, now he was a very powerful person. Yes. I mean, not a normal and ordinary person would anyway walk on the come on the palanquin. So he's a very powerful person. But when Lord asked him for his introduction, how did he introduce himself? He said, Das Anu Das, I am the servant of your servant. So he's saying that I am not even qualified to be your direct servant. I am just trying to be a servant of your servant. So this is the mood which is very pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he talks about humility, when he talks about Trinadapi Shuni Chena Taro Riva Shahishnuna, so he is actually talking about these wonderful qualities where the person accepts, not externally but internally, he accepts that humble position, understanding that how all the living entities are actually serving Krishna and how my position is, I'm not qualified to serve Krishna directly. So I want to serve the servant of the Krishna, of the Supreme Lord.
Serve those who are serving the Lord.
So here we see that he spoke like that and others, they inform. Now who is he? He is the administrator of this southern province. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he started asking him further questions because Lord is in such an ecstasy and all he wants is to reach Nilachal. So he is asking, tell me, how can I quickly reach Nilachal?
So this administrative position is is actually more than that of a district magistrate. So the police and other things, he would actually control. So here the administrator means that he would control the local area. He will have his own army and he will himself dispense justice also at the local level.
वह ये आनंद धारा कहिते कहिते नीलाचल चंद्र बलि पड़िला भूमिते.
As the Lord spoke, tears of love flowed from his eyes. He then fell to the ground exclaiming, "Oh Nilachal Chandra!" Ramachandra Khan replied, "Listen, Mahashay, it is certainly my duty to do whatever you order." So there Lord told that he wants to go to Nilachal and he's saying that whatever you say, whatever you order, I must execute it. It is my duty to do that.
Sabe Prabhu hai ache vishama samaya se deshe e deshe keha patana hivaya Raja Ratri Shula Pundi ache sthane sthane Padhika paile jashu balilaya prane. But Lord, the situation is very tense right now. There is no travel between the two states. The king's men have booby-trapped the road with sharp spears. If they happen to find a traveler, they accuse him of being a spy and execute him. So this is a time. This was a difficult time and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was transiting from one state to the other state. So he was telling that it is difficult. People are being caught because if they come from one place to another, then they are being accused of being the spy and they are being caught. So this is what he's explaining just now.
Caught and killed.
Caught and killed.
And also they have put booby trap on all the roads. So if the opposite army will come, then their legs or feet will be pierced by these sharp pins or needles which are put there. So like So like for example in modern times we have landmines. So landmines are put India-Pakistan border, there are landmines, there are no man's zone. So if somebody goes here, steps on it, there's a mine and it blows up the person. So like that, this situation was there 500 years back as well. So like there are submarines, which are not visible, which are below the ground, but they are in a position to destroy the ships which are floating in the sea. So the situation is very tense. So now becomes very interesting. This Ramchandra Khan, he is the administrator. He surrenders himself to the Lord and Lord makes actually an impossible request to him. He's saying, I'm your servant of your servant. Please tell what can I do for you. He says, I want to go to Orissa. And then he's telling, actually,
As quickly as possible.
as quickly possible. So, if you see, the situation is very, very difficult. Like we have war going between Ukraine and Russia. Situation is very difficult from going from one place to another. And but this is the mood of the devotee. This is the attitude of the devotee, that it is difficult, it is impossible, but by Lord's grace, let us try.
कोण देखदियावा पाठाना लोकायाता हाते धरण प्रभु शूना माना दिया. Oh Lord, listen carefully. I am apprehensive about which way I can send you in secret. I am the army commander and I oversee this area. If I am caught helping you, I will be in trouble. So now he wants to help the Lord. He wants to follow the instruction, whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, and he wants to fulfill him. And he's simultaneously explaining the situation also, the challenges, what he's facing.
So the challenges are not only for the Lord, because see, he would have made arrangement, Lord would have gone, but there is so much problem of getting caught and all those booby traps. Here Ramchandra Khan is also saying that there is trouble for me also. If the king knows that in my area I have allowed you and helped you in this way to cross over the border, I will myself be in trouble. So there is personal problem which he has, and he foresees the problem for Lord also. So he's considering all these factors, and then he'll plan accordingly.
Muni se naskara etha kara mora bhara nagali paile aage samshaya amara. Still, O Lord, I will somehow or other certainly fulfill your request. यदि मोर भृत्य है न ज्ञान था के माने तबे एता भिक्षा आजी कर सर्वगाणे. If you accept me as your servant, then you and your associates will kindly take meal with me today. I am prepared to lose my caste, life and wealth, but I will certainly help you cross the border tonight. So he's telling that I am going to risk everything, whatever it takes, but I will help you in fulfilling your desires, or I would love to be, I'll fulfill your order. And then he is humbly making a request here. And what is he requesting? That kindly take meal with me today.
So just a point of reflection, how many of us, now Ramchandra Khan has just met the Lord. He has just met, and he's a Vishayi. He's been described as a sense gratifier, and he has surrendered to the Lord. How many of us at our current position are ready to risk our life? How many of us are ready to risk our wealth? How many of us are, if there is such a service which requires to put our life and wealth at stake, are we ready to do that service for the Lord? So that's a question that we need to introspect, and then we can understand the, the position of this devotee who was just a sense gratifier, and suddenly he's willing to do everything for the Lord. So this is actually gives a glimpse into the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Within a moment, actually, just he had darshan, and that's all. He became so surrendered.
Shuniya hoila sukhi vaikuntera natha hasitane kari lena shubha drishtipata. On hearing his words, the Lord of Vaikuntha smiled and glanced mercifully on him. After Gaur-Hari freed him from all material bondage by his merciful glance, the Lord went to stay in that Brahmana's house. So Lord is a sannyasi, and that too not a current sannyasi. He is a sannyasi 500 years ago. So people and their mindset were very orthodox at that time. And sannyasis were not supposed to mingle with any materialist people. And we will see in the future chapters also how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would avoid King Pratap Rudra, because he's the king, not because he is a Vishayi or materialist, but because he being the king, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would avoid him. And here is a person who is inviting Lord for the prasadam, and all that has happened because of the merciful glance which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had on this Ramchandra Khan, and he's converted that way or transformed from within. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the request to eat at his house. नाना यत्न दृढ़ भक्ति योग चित्तहना प्रभुररंधन विप्र करिले न गिया.
The Brahmana's heart filled with devotion as he began to cook for the Lord with great care. The Lord ate only as a matter of formality, for he was so absorbed in his own ecstatic mood that he could not be diverted for even a moment. So here, the Lord accepted the invitation, and this Brahmana, Ramchandra, was so excited, and his heart full of devotion, he went and he very carefully cooked each and every item for the Lord. On the other hand, the Lord was completely absorbed. He was on his way to Nilachal. He could not keep his mind away from Lord Jagannāth, and that's what he was thinking moment to moment. And in that ecstatic mood, he ate only as a matter of formality. So the acharyas explain that Lord Chaitanya actually eats only prasadam, and he does not eat anything else. So whenever such food is offered by a brahmana, now we understand that he was a brahmana, may not necessarily be a devotee per se. So whenever Lord would visit a place and some brahmana would offer him food, then Lord will actually first offer that to Krishna, and then only he will eat. In fact, the Lord was daily chanting 1 lakh names of Krishna also. He was chanting 100,000 names of Lord every day. And whatever food will come, he will first offer to the Lord and then he would eat. So why Lord accepted the invitation also from this person who was not apparently a devotee? Because otherwise they will accuse the Lord that, Lord has disregarded the Brahmin community, or and actually a bigger reason was that Lord wanted to be merciful to this community as well, the Smarthas, who are not really necessarily devotional type, but they follow all the rigid rules of the Brahmanical culture. So if these brahmanas will criticize the Lord that he has neglected us, so then by criticism of the Lord they'll go to hell. So Lord accepted their invitation, and by that their lives became successful and they moved on.
विशेष चलीला ये अवधि जगन्नाथे नामे से भोजन प्रभु करे से हाइते. In particular, on his journey to Jagannath Purī, the Lord ate only out of formality. For the entire journey, the Lord anxiously prayed to Jagannath and forgot himself. So we should not think that, okay, so the Lord is going to this person's house or Advaita Acharya's house and he's eating so much. That is why it is specifically mentioned that he is eating only out of formality, basically to please others, to satisfy his devotees who are inviting him with so much of love. So he is eating, otherwise internally he is completely focused on meeting Lord Jagannath.
So I was just thinking that when we were planning the pilgrimages to Sridham Mayapur or Vrindavan, so much effort we would put, that what one will eat on the way, on the train, where we can get some prasadam, and when we would land there, what we'll be serving the devotees for breakfast, what we'll be serving them for lunch, what will be serving them for dinner, and where would be serving. So morning probably we'll be staying at wherever guest house, and we'll be traveling somewhere, and how the prasadam would reach there, and what would be the menu. So there was so much of prasadam focus also, and here we see that Lord is so much absorbed in Jagannath that the prasadam becomes or the food became secondary, and then he was
Formality,
just so anxious.
not even secondary.
Yeah, he was just so anxious to go and have darshan.
Kari boli ratri dina pathira sanchara kiba jala kiba sthala kiba para para किछु नाही जाने प्रभु डूबी प्रेम रसे प्रिय वर्ग राखे निर्वधि रही पाशे. The Lord was completely oblivious to everything as he drowned in the mellows of ecstatic love. He did not know whether it was day or night, or whether he had crossed a river or walked through water or over land. So Lord, as I was mentioning, that he was not into external consciousness, he was completely absorbed in meeting Jagannath. नित्यानंद आदि सब प्रिय वर्ग लाया, भोजन करी ते प्रभु वसिले न गिया, किछु मात्र अन्न प्रभु परिग्रह करी, उठिले न हुंकार करिया गौर हरि. The Lord then sat down to eat with his dear associates headed by Nityanand. After taking a morsel of rice, Gaur Hari stood up and roared loudly. So Lord is again remembering Jagannāth. Avishta haila Prabhu kariya chamana, kata dur Jagannatha bole gane gana.
The Lord became overwhelmed as he washed his hands and mouth and repeatedly asked, "How far is Jagannath Puri? How far? How far is it?" As soon as Mukunda began to perform Kirtan, the Lord of Vaikuntha began to dance.
Hari Hari.
So Lord was so eager, that is all that his being was absorbed. How, when, how much distance, how much time will it take? And that's the time when Mukunda began to do Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Lord began to dance.
पुण्यवंत यत यत छत्र भोग वाशी देखे नित्य करे वैकुंठ विलासी. All the pious persons of Chhatrabhog watched as the Lord who enjoys pastimes in Vaikuntha danced. Everyone there was bathed by tears emanating from the Lord's eyes as he whirled around dancing. Ihare se kahi prema maya avatara, Shakti Chaitanya Chandra vine nahi aara.
That is why he is described as the incarnation of love of God. So Lord was dancing, he was swirling again and again, and the tears from him were just spreading around, and it's wetting the peoples around watching him. No one other than Gaura Chandra, Chaitanya Chandra, had such power. After 9 hours of the night passed in this way, so for 9 straight hours, Mukunda sang and Lord Chaitanya danced. Shri Gaura Sundar became pacified.
He nai samaye kahe Ramachandra khana, nauka asi ghate Prabhu haila vidyamana. At that time, Ramchandra Khan came and said, "O Lord, the boat has arrived at the ghat." Shri Gaur Sundar immediately chanted the name of Hari and went to sit in the boat.
After 9 hours of dancing,
Shubhadrishte loke ravidaya diya ghare, chalilena Prabhu nila chalani japure.
the Lord cast his auspicious glance on everyone in Chhatrabhog and sent them home. Then he departed for his own abode of Nilachal. Well, yes, Lord Jagannāth and Chaitanya Mahāprabhu non-different. So he departed for his own abode, Nilachal. By the order of the Lord, Sri Mukunda Mahashaya began to perform Kirtan as the Lord boarded the boat. So Lord was boarding the boat, and Lord indicated to Mukunda that you begin the Kirtan.
Abhoda naivika bole hoila samashaya, bujilana aji ara prana hiraya. The foolish boatman said, "I am in doubt. I think we will not survive the day." Now imagine, Ramchandra Khan has already described the situation. It is not very easy to cross the borders of two states. And here, because Ramchandra Khan has instructed this boatman, so
He has no option.
He has no option by force. Like, he has to take them to the other side. And now these people, they sit on the boat and then they start doing kirtan. So when they do kirtan, what happens is they are attracting others' attention also. So he was thinking, okay, like we heard that word, secretly he will send, Ramchandra Khan said. And where is the secret? How now they are all sitting in the boat and chanting Hari Hari, Hari Hari, and the kirtan
Hare
is going
Krishna,
on.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So this kirtan is going on. So of course there is no secrecy anymore. So the boatman is saying, I am in doubt. Haila Samshay. He is in Samshay or doubt. I think we will not survive the day.
Aji yaar prana nahi raya. So we will not survive today. So this is Abhodh Navik, and we will also feel, actually in our situation, we will also feel like this foolish boatman only. We'll see, he's not that he's illogical, but we'll see what he has to say here.
Khulite uthile vaghe laiya palaya. Jalete padile kumbhe rite dhari khaya. Nitara e pani te dakai tafire. Paile dhana prana dui nashakare.
So here this boatman is actually describing his fear, why he thinks that all of us will not survive today. Why? He's saying, if we happen to cross the river and reach the other side of the shore, the tigers will attack us. And if we fall in the water, the crocodiles will eat us. And rogues constantly move about these waters. So what are these waters? Actually, this area is of the Sundarban forest. So Sundarban forest, even now, it is famous for these two things. There are tigers on the land and there are crocodiles in the water. So if we are on the land, then we have to be afraid of tigers. If we fall in the water, we have to be afraid of crocodiles. And also there are rogues and thieves.
So if we don't fall and don't reach.
Yeah. So if you are somehow continue to remain on the boat, then there are these dakaite, these rogues are there, dakus. They constantly move on the water, and these fellows they will catch and they'll rob one of their wealth. If they catch anyone, they take both his wealth and his life. So he is, saying, now everybody is doing kirtan, what will happen?
Eteke yavata udiyar deshe pai, tavata niravahao sakala gosai. Therefore, O Gosains, until we reach Odisha, please remain silent.
Please remain silent.
When they heard the boatman's words, they became somewhat hesitant. The Lord, however, continually floated in the water of ecstatic love. So in very direct words, he has told them to keep quiet. No more kirtan. And when they heard no more kirtan, so they were not happy about it. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's still not in his external consciousness. He's still in his ecstatic love.
And in fact, this boatman had another concern. He's saying that these two countries are at war. So if we are doing kirtan, then the other enemy soldiers will listen. And it's dark, it's night, but they will follow the sound. And the moment they see that the sound has reached, they will attack. So that fear was also there for this boatman. So he wanted everybody to be shh.
Prabhu kariya hunkara, sabare balena kene bhaya karakara, ena samukhe sudarshana chakra fire, Vaishnava janera nirvati vignahare. After a while, the Lord stood up and roared loudly. He said to everyone, why are you afraid? Can't you see the Sudarshan Chakra escorting us? It always removes the obstacles faced by Vaishnavas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that, can't you see Sudarshan Chakra is protecting us? What are we doing? What wrong are we doing? We are just doing Harinam. We are glorifying the Supreme Lord. We are doing the Yuga Dharma. We are doing an activity which is pleasing to the Supreme Lord. So if I am doing something which is pleasing to the Supreme Lord, then why would the Supreme Lord not protect us? So he's saying for such people who work in order to please the Supreme Lord, Sudarshan Chakra is always there to protect. Shuniya Prabhura Vakya Sarva Bhakta Gana Anande Lagila Sabe Karita Kirtana Vyapadeshe Mahaprabhu Kahina Sabare Nirvadhi Sudarshan Bhakta Raksha Kare.
On hearing the Lord's words, all the devotees joyfully began to perform kirtan. Mahaprabhu used this situation to teach everyone Sudarshan always protects the devotees. So this is very important for us to understand that always when devotees are engaged in Krishna's service, when they have surrendered their life and soul to the Lord, then Lord takes the responsibility for protecting the devotee. So there is this example of Maharaj Amrish, and when Maharaj Amrish was being chased, when Maharaj Amrish was actually threatened by a demon, it is mentioned that when Durvasa Muni took hair from his head and he invoked a demon from that, and a very, very fearful demon emerged. So imagine if something very terrifying creature or personality comes in front of us, we will actually become shaken and we may try to go back, but it's mentioned that Amrish Maharaj did not even take a step back. He was just standing there. So one, devotees are fearless, and second, in this pastime we understand that how Lord gave his personal weapon to the devotee for the devotee's protection. So because when a devotee means that he becomes part of Lord's family, or he's part of the Lord, he's an associate of the Lord. So all the opulences of the Lord, all the weapons of the Lord come to the protection of the devotee.
Ye papishta vaishnavera paksha himsakare Sudarshana agnite se papi podi mare. Any sinful person who attacks a Vaishnava is burnt to ashes by the fire of Sudarshan. When devotees have a protector like Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra, who has the power to attack them? Uttari lagiya nauka Shri Prayag Ghate Nauka hoite Mahaprabhu Uthile na tata Pravesha karila Gaura Chandra Odra Deshe Iha Yeshu naye se bhastaye prema rase.
When the boat arrived at Sri Prayag Ghat, Mahaprabhu stepped onto the shore. Anyone who hears this Gaurachandra's arrival in Orissa floats in the mellows of ecstatic love.
Hari Hari.
So this is the Falastuti, that anyone who hears the arrival of the Lord in Orissa, then what happens? One floats in the mellows of ecstatic ras.
Anande Thakura Odra Desha Hai Para Sarvagana Sahite Hai Lila Namaskara Se Sthane Achetara Ganga Ghat Nama Tahi Gaura Chandra Prabhu Karile Nastana. After joyfully arriving in Odisha, the Lord and his associates offered obeisances. There, at the place known as Ganga Ghat, Lord Gaurachandra took his bath. Yudhishthira sthapita mahesha tathi ache Snana kari tanre namaskarile na pache Odra desha pravesha karila Gaurachandra Gana sahaile na parama ananda.
After taking bath, the Lord offered obeisances to the deity of Mahesh that was established here by Yudhishthir. Gaurachandra and his associates were most happy to have entered Orissa. So here we see that when Lord arrived in Orissa, first he did was he took his bath, and then there was a temple which was of Lord Shiva established by Yudhishthir Maharaj, and then Lord went and he offered his obeisances to the deity of Lord Shiva. And all the associates and Lord were very happy. Now finally we are in Orissa, and soon we'll have darshan of Lord Jagannāth. Ekadeva sthane prabhu tuiya sabare
आपने चलिला प्रभु भिक्षा करिबारे आंचल पातेना प्रभु श्री गौर सुंदर सबई तंडुला आनी देना सतरा. The Lord then left his associates in one temple and went to beg alms. As Sri Gaurasundar held out his cloth for alms, everyone immediately placed rice in it. They happily offered the Lord whatever fine eatables they had in their house. In fact, it is described that when they would see Gaur Chandra and his beautiful golden form, they would become so attracted towards him. They would become so attached to him that immediately whatever they had, they would come and give it to him in charity. Jagatera Annapurna ye Lakshmira Nama se Lakshmi Magiya Yanra Pada Padme Sthana Hena Prabhu Apne Sakala Ghare Ghare Nyasi Rupe Bhiksha Chale Jiva Dhanya Kare.
The same Lord whose lotus feet are desired by Lakshmi, who is known as Annapurna, the supplier of food to the entire universe, personally delivered the living entities on the pretext of begging alms from door to door as a sannyasi. So here it is described that Lakshmi Devi, she is the Annapurna, she is the one who supplies food to every living entities in this entire universe. That Lakshmi Devi desires the lotus feet of this Supreme Lord. And now this Supreme Lord is begging alms from door to door as a sannyasi. For what reason? Can there be any reason? Is it that he is hungry? Is that the reason? Or he wants to survive? Is that the reason? No. The reason is given here. Personally deliver the living entities on the pretext of begging. So this was all how Lord Chaitanya was giving his mercy.
भिक्षा द्रव्य देखी सबे लागिला हसीते सबे बलिना प्रभु परिबा पोषिते. When the devotees saw the foodstuffs that the Lord collected as alms, they began to laugh and said, "O Lord, you will be able to maintain us." So actually, who's maintaining us? I mean, here devotees are jokingly speaking to the Lord, but actually the Supreme Lord is maintaining all of us. Even the non-devotees. Everybody is maintained only one and only by the Supreme Lord.
And the Lord specially maintains his devotees by nourishing their spiritual life, by removing their obstacles. So this is here, Prabhu Pariba Poshite. This is how Lord actually nurtures his devotees.
Santoshe Jagadananda Korila Randhana Sabara Samhati Prabhu Korila Bhojana.
Jagannāth cooked with great satisfaction, and the Lord then ate in the company of the devotees. Mahaprabhu and the devotees performed Sankirtan the entire night in that village and then departed early the next morning. So there was no concept of sleeping. Daytime have Sankirtan, daytime collect alms, and then evening cook, honor prasadam, and then again do Kirtan and Krishna Katha, and then next day morning go to the next place.
Kata dure gile matra dani durachara Rakhile kadana chahe na de ayavara. After they had travelled some distance, a sinful toll collector stopped them and would not allow them to go further without paying taxes. Struck with wonder on seeing the Lord's effulgence, he said, "How many people are with you?" Prabhu kahe jagate amar ke hanaya Amiha kahara nahi kahila nishchaya Ek ami dui nahi sakala amara Kahite nayana vahe avirata dhara. The Lord replied, "I have no one in this world and I do not belong to anyone. I tell you this fact, I am alone with no companion. The entire world is mine." As the Lord spoke, incessant tears flowed from his eyes. So nobody, including the tax collector, was expecting such an answer. That Mahaprabhu is saying that I don't belong to anyone. I am all alone. And then he says that this entire world is mine. So he has taken sannyas, and that is the sannyas ashram. That nobody is your family member. Like you renounce your own family, but then simultaneously you accept the entire world as your family. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying here. And because he was so filled in ecstasy, he has already stepped in Orissa. So he's so full of ecstasy that the tears were flowing from his eyes. And this was very bewildering to this tax collector. Dani bole gosai ka rah shobha tumi, esa bar dana paile chhadi deba ami. Dani bale tomar ta sannyasi ranaha, ete ke amar se uchita dana deha.
The toll collector said, "Oh Gosai, you may go. I will let these persons go after they pay taxes. You are not with the sannyasi, so you should pay the proper fees." So tax collector said, "Okay, you are a sannyasi. I'll let you go. You don't have to pay. But all others, you're not with the sannyasi. You should pay the proper tax, and then only I'll let you go."
Shubha karile na Prabhu Govinda boliya, kata dur sabha chhadi vasile na giya. Sabha parihari Prabhu karila gamana, hari she vishada hai lena bhakta gana. The Lord walked down the road chanting Govinda, Govinda. He left the others behind and sat down in the distance. When the Lord left everyone and continued on, the devotees became despondent in their happiness. Pache Prabhu sabha chhadi kare na gamana, ete ke vishad asi dharile kamana. Nityananda sabha prabodena chintanai, ama sabha chhadi ana yayena gosai.
On seeing the Lord's pastime of complete detachment, they all began to laugh among themselves. Yet they were unhappy because they feared that the Lord might leave them all and go. So this was the situation. The tax collector had allowed Lord Chaitanya to go ahead, and he actually started going ahead without looking back. All of these devotees have traveled through all those tigers and crocodiles and the enemies and the dakus and everyone, and here finally they were almost going to have darshan of Lord Jagannāth, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was walking. And they were all stuck with this tax collector, and their anxiety was also that they didn't have anything to pay taxes with. They didn't have really anything. So they were all became despondent that Lord may just leave them and Lord may go. So Nityananda Prabhu gave them solace. Do not worry. Chinta nahiya. Lord will not go anywhere without us. So Lord Nityananda knew very, very well the nature of Lord Chaitanya.
Kata dure Prabhu sab parshad chhadiya, henta matha kari matra kande na vasiya. Kashta pashanadi drave shoni se krandana, adbhuta dekhiya dani bhave mane mana. After leaving his associates behind, the Lord sat down in the distance and began to cry with his heads between his knees. Even woods and stone would melt on hearing such crying. When the toll collector saw that wonderful sight, he began to consider. So now when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cry, he started asking, Dani bole e purusha naraka bhunahe, manushera nayane ki etadharavahe, sabare jigyase dani pranati kariya, ke tomara kar loka kahat bhangiya.
The toll collector thought, this person is certainly not an ordinary human being. Can a human being shed such tears? The toll collector then respectfully asked the devotees, who are you? Who is your leader? Tell me the truth. So we see here, again, there was no hope for such a durachari tax collector that he's seeing a sannyasi And as Sugiti was saying, 500 years back when everybody had so much of respect for the sannyas ashram, and here this person was ready to collect tax even from a sannyasi who has left behind everything. So he was a real durachari, but Lord graced him. Even he received the grace of the Lord. So that is why it is mentioned that the Lord's grace is even for the most unqualified in Kali Yuga. So when he saw the Lord crying, and he understood this is not possible for an ordinary human being crying like this. So then something happened in his heart, and he understood that this it is not the usual thing. He started asking, "Who are you? Who's your leader?" Please tell
Hare
me.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in the next session, we will hear what the devotees reply, who's your leader, and what happens to the tax collector. So we will continue from here in the next session onwards. And before we end, very soon we would be witnessing this most beautiful, astounding, wonderful day when Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu personally appeared. We celebrate it as Gaur Purnima, and that falls on 18th of March this year. So let's all gear up our consciousness and let's all start thinking and meditating as what is it that I want to offer to Chaitanya Mahāprabhu on his birthday, or rather on his appearance day. So we would wait for you to write down that what is your desire. How do you want to welcome Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu in your heart and home? How do you want, or rather, how do you want to celebrate Lord's appearance day? So share those thoughts. How do you want to do that? And we will read your comments and we will get back next week.
And you can write personal mails to us. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai,
jai.
Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.